It takes a lot of courage and will to leave your birthplace and settle in another environment. The cultural shock, the change in values and orientation, and the need to adapt fast to the new environment could be too much to handle for some. On my last visit to Qatar for the FIFA World Cup, I took out time to hunt for Nigerians who had made the bold move to uproot their entire family and try to make life happen for themselves in Doha, which is our case study, home away from home. They were gracious enough to open their doors to me, and we had a chat. I want to say thank you very much for obliging us with your presence and your time. And we have a couple of questions that will be ringing through, especially for Nigerians. We know that Nigerians travel far and wide, but more importantly, the choice destination for Nigerians are the UK, the US, and some in Europe, China, the greater Asia, and the rest of them. But we have Nigerians here in Qatar, and one of them. Talk to us, why Qatar?
Thank you so much. It's true that for very obvious reasons, Nigerians usually travel to the UK, the Western world as it were, and other parts of Africa, other parts of the world. To the question, why Qatar? Qatar offers very unique opportunities that you might not likely find elsewhere. And aside from that, is a new destination, as it were, which gives you the privilege of growing with the country, which gives you the privilege of being part of the growth, as it were. So when the opportunity to come to Qatar came, it's something that I embrace with open arms. And I can boldly say that I have had no regrets of making that choice. It's been exciting, it's been interesting, and it's a new territory, and the country is rapidly growing, fast developing, and I believe very soon it will be one of the top choice destinations for not just Nigerians, for many parts. For other people from different parts of the world. The tourism potentials here is the potentials here are very, high, and a lot of people are coming in. And I believe with the World Cup that is about to end, or that Qatar has hosted, it will open up so many things in terms of tourism, business opportunities, and many others.
Actually, it wasn't the plan to just come to Qatar and set up a business. So my husband works for one of the multinationals in Nigeria, and his company sent him here on cross-posting. So I just came like a wife, to enjoy expat life with my husband. I have 2 boys, and then we came. Business was not in the plan at all, we just came here for the assignment. And while we were here, 2 years after we arrived in 2017, there was a blockade. The issue that happened between Qatar and the other GCC countries, and they blocked everything off, from Qatar, food supply, everything. It was then we realized that most of the things in Qatar are imported, up until bread, eggs, milk. Most of the things were coming from Saudi Arabia and the UAE. So one of the 2 of my boys is a really picky eater. And at that time, he had a dietary requirement. We did food testing, we did all sorts of things to find out what the issue was with his gut and all of that. We couldn't find it, so what they said was try to do everything from the scratch. No processed foods. So I watched different videos on YouTube, did a lot of research, finding out ways to make bread that is that the stomach will tolerate, that is also safe and healthy to eat. That's a summary of how this journey started. And then I started making the first bread I made was like stone. If you throw it on the wall, it returns back to you. And then I tried many trials, and eventually, he ate it and he was like, this is good, and we stayed with that, recipe. And then where we used to live, most of my neighbors, they'll be like, do you bake a lot? I'm like, well, sometimes for my family. And they're like, I smell something really good. And I just explain to them, oh, I'm making bread. And they're like, oh, can you make one for me the next time you bake? And I'm like, okay, fine, sure. And then I did. And then at school, the parents, the schools where my kids attend, they'll be like, oh, Wumi, your son brings, my daughter told me that your son brings really lovely breads to school, because I try to make it interesting. I make different shapes. I do the hala, the braided one, just something to make it more interesting, since it's really just bread, basically, that he will take to school. And they're like, just, can you make one for me the next time you're making for your family? Don't worry, I don't mind paying. And that was how, it expanded. We started making croissants and all sorts. So that was how, it started. So it wasn't really in the plan to do this. And of course, as the business blossomed, we thought it was good to invest in it, and take it to the next level.
Yeah, the Qatar Nigeria Business Council was established in 2017 with the main objective of promoting business and commercial activities between Nigeria and the state of Qatar. So basically promoting businesses from Nigeria to Qatar and vice versa. So since our inception, we have participated in a number of activities, and we have ourselves organized a number of activities, including trade delegations. We recently hosted a trade delegation from Nigeria in May this year, whereby we hosted about 15 companies came from Nigeria to come and showcase their own businesses and projects and activities. Apart from that, we also do seminars, conferences, and we do B2B matchmaking between Nigeria and Qatari companies. So there's a lot of opportunities here in Qatar for Nigerian companies, more especially in fields of agriculture, IT, because Qatar, as part of their Vision 2030, agriculture and IT are very fundamental to the development of the Qatari economy.
I've been in Qatar for 11 years now, going to 12 years. And I observed there are a lot of things for Africans that is missing, and which make it a kind of boring. So as a businessman from Osun State, I look at it that what service can I render as a side hustle different from the work I'm doing. So when I made my research, I found out that there is no place for Africans to go and sit down, eat African food, relax in an atmosphere that they feel as if they are back home.
We came into Qatar December 26th, which was last year. 2021, yeah. That's when we came in. We're moving to Qatar. So he was already here in Qatar. Nigerian thing, we have to japa. Let's japa. Let's look for a greener pasture that is okay for the children. Okay. You understand? Because if you look at the situation of Nigeria, is not okay by many people, right? So let's japa. When we look at the children, the way they are going, the educational setup of Nigeria is not well to write home about. So what can we do? And he is already in Qatar. Okay, let's move with him. So just a year.
The Nigerian educational system now being in a state of crisis and almost at the verge of collapse, if I may say. So the educational system in the state of Qatar, since I have been here for the last 12 years, of course, is very different from the Nigerian educational system from top to bottom. What I mean from top to bottom, when you talk about education at primary or secondary school level, up to higher education level, the system is very different. This is a system where it functions very well. This is a system whereby the government invests to the level of the standard, international standard. The United Nations Educational Scientific Organization, UNESCO, has certain standard in terms of funding of education. The country is meeting those standards in terms of infrastructure, in terms of facilities, either being in classroom, the highest level of technology, teaching technologies, in terms of library, books, in terms of, if you talk about infrastructure in the laboratory, and all other kind of things that make teaching and learning conducive is available in the educational system. So because the government has invest sufficiently in the system, unlike what is happening back home. Someone wants to make a choice in terms of educational career, either going to the United Kingdom, going to Europe, going to Qatar, going to United States. I will say that I will advise that the quality of education that we provide in the state of Qatar, either at the level of undergraduate education, at the level of postgraduate studies, master's degree, PhD degree studies, I can assure you the quality of education in the state of Qatar is at par with any other country in the world. Wow. In terms of quality, in terms of productivity. And that is proven. That is proven by the quality of the graduates that you produce. The quality of the graduates after they completed the study, their employability, the productivity, the quality of research that they have done, the publication that they have produced from the research that they have conducted. These are some of the indices that you look into, and the quality of the graduates from the state of Qatar is no lower than any other of the developed nation.
Aaron Kerejola giving us a feel of Nigerians' status in Qatar and what they're doing. And of course, Aaron, let me just ask you, what struck you as the most, similar issue, the reason for Nigerians to do what they're doing right now in Qatar, when you were asking them all those questions?
Most of them, more than one of them, they actually just found themselves in Qatar by chance. So they're not like the typical people that decided that we're looking for greener pasture. But for those that went seeking greener pasture, their path were a little bit harder than others. And you look at that and you say to yourself that when you want to cross that particular divide, is the grass on the other side of the picket fence, is it greener than the one here? Usually it always looks like it, but from our own observation and from their body language, not all that glitters is gold.
Yes, gold.
Let me just put it that way.
I even remember the one with the lady who started the bakery that it wasn't intentional at first, but it was a restriction that was made by the Qatari government, which led to her and her husband starting off the business.
And I must say that commendation must go to her woman, is her name, fantastic lady, and very, very diligent. I must say that she knows her onions and she's put in so much work, and she's seen what started in a kitchen become something massive. And the patronage, because here in Nigeria, we know especially those that have stayed in Lagos and grew up in Lagos, when you hear the name Agege bread, it resonates. And that's what she's been able to replicate over there. And it has been a massive hit. And she told me about major knockoffs by some Chinese individuals that do not even understand the origin of the name Agege bread. And because they just want to sell their own bread, they just slap Agege something on it, and they don't understand what it actually connotes.
Unfortunately, those are the kind of businesses, small businesses, that could actually help Nigeria's economy. But of course, it's our loss. The Qataris are gaining. And
that's it. If we can actually probably create a more enabling environment for Nigerians here in Nigeria, we can do so much for ourselves because we are industrious. Anytime you go abroad and you see people like this, then you know that if Nigerians are given half of the opportunities given to those guys abroad, we will do 10 times more.
Very good. Point noted.